Hi students, hope you all are doing well. Welcome to another very exciting session of the course Healthcare Entrepreneurship. So today we are going to talk about customer discovery. So earlier, just to give you a recap, we have touched upon what is the scenario of the healthcare space and the overall scenario in the Indian context, and we have looked at some of the products and services which are currently present as a part of the Indian healthcare ecosystem. And we also looked at some of the user personas and the need analysis, how do we generate and write idea from understanding the overall market. So, based on that, the next step, which is a very important step, is to do a proper customer discovery. This is done typically to understand whether your product or service idea is going to be really valuable for the customers in the market. So, let us get started. So, customer discovery by definition is the initial and iterative process of understanding customer situations, needs and pain points through interviews or surveys. So, why specifically interviews or surveys? So, let us take a look at top 10 startup mistakes, and this is across the healthcare and the other business spaces in the current country currently. So, typically the first and the topmost startup mistake is building something which nobody really wants. So, that what that means is you have spent a lot of time looking into the technicalities, and you have built this really nice product which you are passionate about, and you find out later on after the launch that nobody really wants your product. So, this is one of the key reasons customer discovery needs to be done. There are several other reasons like hiring poorly, lack of focus. So, a lot of these aspects also gets clarified through the customer discovery process, right. So, we do not want to get into the startup mistake, which many of the really big startups have failed to accept and do it right. So, typically this is a very old quote, everybody has a plan till they get punched in their mouth. So, basically that is the case with the startups as well. We always are so attached to our products and services. So, we want to take this out in the market as soon as possible, but then what happens is with all of a sudden get punched in the mouth. So, basically because there are no customers, there are no takers for our products. So, that is something we want to avoid. So, in order to do that, we want to do this customer discovery process and follow it by heart. All these steps like within it we will learn as we go through these lectures. So, as a first point of this customer discovery phase, what we are looking at here in the screen is a business model canvas. So, this is a very commonly known term. So, whenever you are talking about being an entrepreneur, you would like to have a business plan at some point, and basically a summary of that business plan is represented by the business model canvas. This is the screen which you are looking at. So, basically here the focus point for the customer discovery is the value propositions, which is the one in the middle, kind of highlighted by the outline of blue outline. So, typically what we start with this business model canvas is we start with a lot of guesses. So, by guesses what we mean is we basically look at the market from a research standpoint, we look at what are the competitors, and then we come up with some guesses that these are our possible value propositions, and I'll explain as we go what we mean by these guesses. And we basically make these guesses for all the different segments of this business model canvas, but let us keep our focus and attention into this segment which is value proposition. So, for the customer discovery phase, we will be majorly focusing on the value propositions and understanding how to get that right. Only after that the rest of the business model canvas is filled out, right. So, our goal through this customer discovery process is to turn these guesses which we initially have into facts, right. And how do we do that? By running experiments outside the building. Outside the building basically means we should not be sitting in the room and thinking that or assuming that this is how the customer behavior is going to be towards our product, or they are going to particularly buy this product for this and that price. We cannot assume things like that. So, the idea here is let us get out of the room, get out of the building and actually go out there and interview quite a few target customers, as well as take some surveys in order to really understand whether what we are assuming or thinking as the guesses are can be converted to facts, right. So, this all these steps are basically done through the customer interviews. So, the end goal, like I have said here, is the business model canvas basically gets filled out with facts rather than guesses, and this is done through a lot of due diligence, and we get through all this customer interviews and surveys for the same. Right. So, let us look at a few value propositions and understand what value proposition is basically for products and services. So, value proposition term is a very commonly known term in the area of management and marketing. So, it basically means what value do I deliver to the customer through my product or service. So, it can be categorized into two segments. First is a gain creator, second is a painkiller. We will start with the painkillers because these are the most common ones. So, painkiller is basically there is some pain point with your end customers, which with the existing products in the market, or there is a dearth of products in the market around your idea. So, you are able to target this pain point and add a value by being a painkiller through your product features or product offerings, right. So, what are some of the painkillers? One is price. So, it may be the idea or the product design which you have is something which is the lowest cost in the market. There are so many other brands and offerings which are much more expensive. So, you are basically killing that pain of paying a high price by reducing the price. So, price is a painkiller. Second is cost reduction, which is kind of similar. Risk reduction. So, there could be several products or services in the market which are extremely risky to maneuver with. So, that is where you would like the risk to be reduced through your particular product or service. Accessibility. Can this product or service be accessible widely? Convenience. Can you improve something on top of what is currently being offered, which improves the overall convenience? It is very, very convenient to use and convenient to access. Usability is another term, and we are going to talk about all these terms at length, specifically usability in the coming lectures. Usability is how easy is it for somebody to use. So, whenever you have like a medical product, is it fairly intuitive that somebody can just take a look at it and without reading too much of the manual, or just by glancing at the manual they are able to use it? Or is it like they need some kind of an expert knowledge and they want to watch a YouTube video or look into Google in order to finally understand how to use this product? So, many of these products which we encounter in our day to day lives are like that, they lack usability. They may be great products in terms of technicality, but when you go to use them, you do not know where to click and how many stops to put. One of the classic examples is the very complex thermometer which are coming in like all the digital designs these days. So, many of these thermometers have limited buttons and have a lot of different complex options, which if you press a button once versus hold it versus press it thrice, and there are so many options where degrees can change into Fahrenheits or to Kelvins, and you can get temperature of the ear versus like of the regular oral body temperature and whatnot. So, these many options are really confusing for a lot of folks who are trying to get it very simple. So, these are some pain points in the society. If you are able to solve that using a painkiller, that becomes part of your value proposition. Next is gain creator. So, painkillers are something which is must have for your particular product, right. Without this you cannot survive with your product, because these pains already exist. If you are not able to kill majority of those, you are not really making some improvements. Gain creator is an extra added layer. So, on top of what you have as painkillers, it is a nice to have kind of features. So, it is not a must have features, but it is a nice to have kind of features. Like it could be newness of the product, that it looks very nice or fresh, the performance of the product. There could be certain customizations. Maybe you can save your name, and basically in a new thermometer design, basically you have your name pop up, and there is a certain ID attached to it, and for your father it is a different name which is placed there. So, you can easily track what the history of the temperatures were, right. getting the job done. So sometimes few of the products may not be excellent products in terms of technicalities, but they are getting your job done and basically making your life much more easy, right? So sometimes that aspect is also useful. So one very classic example is the need for nurses as a service, like, so a lot of the elderly folks out there are needing some kind of a home based care by nurses because of their physical or health condition which deteriorates with the age. So basically the service of nurses, if you can provide that without too much of complexity, then it's getting the job done. That's a gain creator. The availability or the cost of the nurses may be a painkiller. So currently, let's say hiring a nurse would cost somebody a leg and arm close to, let's say, 15,000 or 20,000 rupees a month, and somebody is not in the position to pay that much amount of money. They can only afford, let's say, 7 to 8,000. So lowering the cost is a painkiller, and getting the job done where the nurse is able to do multiple activities for this particular person is basically a gain creator, right? So there could be gain creators in terms of design, like I've said, it could be a nice and sleek looking design, sometimes with the brand or status. So example is an Apple Watch versus any regular watches, which are smart watches which are coming through other brands, much less well known. So typically, if you can afford, you would go for an Apple Watch because that's kind of a gold standard of the brand, and that is something you would like to relate with, and it's going to function really, really with a high performance, right? So these are some examples of value propositions. So what are the key questions for value proposition? How do you understand what is the right value proposition to add? So the problem statement is, what is the problem in the society which you are trying to address through your particular product or service offering, right? And the ecosystem we have to understand, which is basically your target customers, is for whom is this particular product or service really relevant for, right? What do you think is the competition? So what are the current offerings and what is the more that you can offer, right? Technology and market insight. Why is the problem so hard to solve? Is this a problem which is very simple to solve and a lot of people have solved it, and you're just trying to make the cost low or do something of a business standpoint, like, or is this a problem which is really difficult to solve? So if you all remember, I was talking about the difference between a businessman and an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur usually uses the term innovation, right? So he or she is trying to basically innovate through something which is lacking in the market and really trying to solve a problem which very few can actually afford to solve, right? An example, like a businessman for that reason would just look at a market scarcity and basically try to reduce the cost and basically earn a quick buck. That is not the case with an entrepreneur like all of us whom we are trying to be, right? We want to also look at the market size, how big is the problem, and the product, how do you actually solve the problem? Like, is it through some really technical innovation, or is this through some kind of better marketing, or there are so many aspects. So these are some of the key questions to consider before finalizing or guessing your value propositions. Let's look further. So some of the common mistakes of value propositions are if we just consider as this as a feature of someone else's product. So there could be a similar product in the market, and we just consider that it is the same feature of that product which we want to consider as value proposition. That's not going to add too much of value. The existing products are already adding value. So the end goal is, can you add some value to the customers, right? So also another mistake is, it is nice to have instead of got to have. So having too many gain creators here specifically rather than painkillers. So there needs to be a right fine balance of the painkillers and gain creators. Typically you would like to have more painkillers than the gain creators, right? Third mistake is not enough customers care. So if you see, like, 30% of the folks whom you interview or run the survey through have responded positively to your product or service idea, that basically means very few people actually care about your product or service idea. If you have 70 to 80% response at least on a product or service set of questions, then basically you can feel that this is a product which can be adding some value to a bigger set of customers, and that is the kind of product or service you would like to go ahead with and run a value proposition for, right? So let's go further. Okay, what are the right value propositions? So how do you know, have I guessed the right value proposition? So you may have guessed like lowering the cost, having a better performance, or better accessibility as your initial value propositions. How do you actually do this? So this is done through something which is known as a hypothesis testing through customer interviews, which becomes the part of the customer discovery. So what we do is a hypothesis testing. We'll take some examples. So, some of the hypotheses for the painkillers are, does this particular product or service idea produce savings, make your customers feel better, fix underperforming solutions, ends difficulties and challenges customers encounter, wipe out negative social consequences, right. So, there could be several negative social consequences of using certain products and medical devices. So, one very classic example is the not from the medical field, but the Tata Nano. So, Tata Nano was a great car launched with a very low cost, which was one of the key value propositions, but somehow did not work very well with the customers because it brought a kind of bad consequence to how people would perceive about somebody. So, somebody would think this person is really cannot afford a car, or is not really well to do, that is why they are buying a Tata Nano, which could be something a little bit better version of a scooter or an auto. So, that perspective was so poor about this particular car, which had a really nice intention of having a low cost vehicle for families for better safety compared to scooters or bikes, but the idea overall went down the drain. Like, so basically they it did not go very well with a lot of customers. So this had a negative social consequence, that's why it was not adopted very well, and that happens very often with a lot of medical products as well. There could be some taboo associated with it, or somebody really doesn't feel like using it, like so if you can come with a non-invasive way of glucose monitoring, a lot of folks may take it more than the invasive ways where somebody needs to prick their finger. That's currently the technology which is available, but and people who have some degrees of diabetes have to do it, there is no other option. But typically somebody who is not very sure of their sugar level would not like to do it unless they are kind of forced to do it, right. So this may have a little bit of negative social consequence. Eliminate the risks. So can you eliminate some risks through your products and services, such as financial, social, technical, or what could go awfully wrong? So you have this new measurement device for certain vitals in your body. Can you just get rid of the possible risks, so that when I report the vitals to a doctor, he or she can actually believe it, right. So there are so many other aspects which comes along with it. Some examples of gain creator based hypothesis is, create savings that make your customers really happy. So sometimes you will see discounts on several products, and it makes you really like excited that I went to buy this product for 1700, like this new let us say blood pressure measurement device, and they have given me a 250 rupee discount. So I am really happy. Yeah. So sometimes I would mention the same to my fellow colleagues, and they would probably buy the same. So produce expected or better than expected outcomes. So there could be certain products, when you buy them with certain inhibitions that these are not probably the best in the market, especially coming out of the startups, and then all of a sudden you see so many nice features, and it gives you a really personalized view. So you are really happy that this product is serving quite a bit of purpose, which I did not expect, right. Copy or outperform current solutions that delight the customers. So there are several cases in which medical products or services. So one example is a kind of wheelchair, which typically a lot of patients would be really afraid to go along with, because there are a lot of jerks and whatnot, like as it is taken from one part of the hospital to another, has some nice shock absorbers. And all of a sudden this patient feels like, I feel so good while being taken in this wheelchair. So this kind of outperforms the current solutions that really delights the customer. Customer here is the patient. So, this customer is going to talk about the same to a lot of other fellow patients or possible patients, and this will not only bring the hospital's reputation up, but also the idea of using such a stretcher or a wheelchair, right. So, make your customer's job or life easier. So, this is another set of hypothesis. It's in the form of a question that whether this particular product or service is making the job or life easier of the customers, right, by having a better usability where they can just unpack the device and quickly start using it. And there are so many other aspects like where that is easily accessible. So, I will give you an example of a this medical drug which is known as a curcumin kind of lozenge, like it is known by the brand Kurkri. So, basically I buy it quite often in the winters, where when I have like a throat scratch or feel like my throat is not feeling very well. So, typically I cannot buy this off the shelf from normal pharmacies. I will have to buy it through, you know, certain online stores, and typically that reduces my accessibility. So, sometimes I would want to find an alternative in my local store, then really go online and fill this information and wait for 6 or 7 days to get my particular medical drugs being delivered at my home. So, sometimes that is kind of creating some kind of a pain, and I can have a better accessibility in terms of course, the drug is very good, like that is why I am interested to take it, but if you can have a better accessibility, that can be a nice gain creator there. Create positive consequences that customer desires. So, this is in the form of a question. Can it make you feel or look good? So, there are so many products out there in the market which can make basically there are so many medical products. So, if you have acne or if you have some kind of a skin disease, can this particular product make you look very good? So, all of us wants to look nice, right. So, this is another set of hypothesis which can be a gain creator. So, on top of treating an allergy or some kind of dermatological condition, right, it makes you look good. All right. So, let us look at some of the customer interview basics, and then we will take some live examples to really understand this customer discovery process, right. So, the first basic is get out of the building. So, these three folks are basically talking about from the same, so the red ones are from the same company. So, this person, so this company basically builds some products for the teenage population. So, he is basically saying that if I was the teenage girl based target customer, I would really love our new product. So, he is saying by himself, just assuming that this is a great product for the teenage customers. So, the other person who is possibly a VC who is going to fund this company or fund this product asks that, have you actually talked to anybody to make sure? So, this person who is also part of this company says what, and leave this room and think about it. So, this is very, very important. So, many a times you will be asked by fundraisers and people who would possibly fund your companies and products, that whether you have actually talked to some customers and done a customer discovery previously, in order to ensure that there are some takers for your products, or are you just assuming things. So, if you say we are yet to do it, basically you have failed your job, right. So, getting out of the building and actually doing a customer survey or set of interviews is very, very important. Second is, are you talking to relevant customers? So, this all of a sudden this mother of this entrepreneur basically asks, how was the customer interview? And this person says, great, I learned from my grandmother's bridge group that our dating app should have a rotary phone version. So, he is basically trying to mention that I learned from some of my relatives, which is in this case the grandmother, that this feature would be really nice, So, typically your friends and family are not relevant customers or relevant people to take interviews from. So, this is another thing to be noted. You would want to take the interviews from unbiased customers. Some leads generated from your friends and colleagues are better rather than talking to your direct friends and colleagues, because usually they would talk nicely about your idea. They would not want to thrash your product or service idea, and would like to talk really good things about it and give you positive feedback. But you would like to know the negative feedback as well, in order to really understand what adds value to the end customers in terms of value proposition. Interview strangers, not friends. So that's kind of an iteration of what I just mentioned. So this person says, I've been told that I need to get candid, unbiased feedback on my stupid idea, basically. So these folks say that we love this idea and we are so proud of you, son. So basically they are his parents. So parents will always be proud of whatever small things which you do. So they basically, the rule of thumb is interview strangers but not friends and family, right? Disarm the polite behavior. So be completely honest and tell what you think this product would have really meant to this particular end customer whom you are trying to interview, and talk about that I have spent quite a bit of sleepless nights, but like don't say I have spent my entire salary into it. You know, if we talk about that I have spent so much time and money into this, please tell me how this idea of this product or service looks like. Many of the folks like who are basically being interviewed, they would think that this poor person like has spent so much time into this product or service, let us talk good about it. So you have to disarm that polite behavior and really get to the crux of it, that can you give me all the negative and positive feedback on this product, and not try to sympathize or get an idea that whether people can talk only good about your products. You would want to hear bad about your products. Ask about pains and needs, not features. So this is very, very important. We do not have to focus on the product features. So while we do the customer interview, we do not say that I'm thinking about this great product and I want to just validate whether this particular feature, which is this sleek look, or this particular dimensions, or how this product is really low weight or low cost, is going to be valuable for you. So rather than asking about features of a product, we would want to know about the pains and needs of the customers. So the interview would start something like this, that I'm working as a student or working as a researcher in this particular area, and I have some idea in place and I'm trying to get some feedback on this particular idea, and what are the particular pains and needs which you have, thinking about, let's say, mental health. So I'm trying to build this mental health based app, and I'm trying to put certain segments into it, like so that it benefits a lot of customers. So what are the current mental health issues are you which you are facing currently, or what do you observe around you? How do you tackle it? Do you meet a lot of folks, or would you have liked it if somebody was there to help you or listen to you? Or what are the other requirements? What kind of drugs are you taking? Medical drugs, right? So this is the kind of interview you would like to know more about the customers, rather than trying to pitch your product and know whether they like your product, right? So that is a very clear basic of a customer discovery phase. So let's go further. So also once you have gotten a feedback, sometime parrot back and confirm what you have heard. So you really think this idea is cool or good, I can't wait to tell my co-founder that we're ready to quit our day job. So that's not a great idea. I was talking about this iced coffee, but sure, your idea is cool too. So this person looks very unempathetic, like person is just like saying good things about it, but like you want to make sure you confirm a thought process or value proposition which you have proposed, and the particular person or end customers have validated it. You validate it with 50 or 100 responses. You want to get it statistically correct. That is also very important. So let's say this, out of this initial 10 interviews which I have taken, 8 of them have said that low cost is the main thing we are looking at for your medical devices, which I have spent nights and days like building it. And then you are very happy with it, that low cost is the key value proposition. The answer to that is no. Please check the same with another 40 or 50 customers, or at least 100 customers. Once you have run a survey or a set of interviews with them, you may figure out that low cost is not what really matters. It's probably the performance of the device, right? So sometimes it is very important to parrot back and really understand whether and validate your value proposition like on a bigger set of customers and get it statistically right. There is another very important term which is known as confirmation bias, which is a very problematic issue like with conducting customer discovery. So, this reads like this: we tend to pay attention to information which confirms what we believe while ignoring information which challenges our preconceived notion. So, what this typically means is we have this great idea of a product or service and we want to hear only good things about it, right. So, whenever somebody speaks bad about it, we totally close our ears. We are not hearing about it and we are totally filtering out that negative feedback. Where whenever somebody assures that this is a great product, I think these things are really good, then all of a sudden my preconceived notion, which is basically this is such a great product, these are the key features, gets validated and we are so happy about it. That is known as confirmation bias. We create a bias in our mind and we are not getting the right feedback that way. If we keep on going on with that, we will get hit in our face like basically when we go out in the market, because the market is, once somebody is asked to pay for your particular product, the true colors of that person really shows. Many people may say great things about your product or service, but would they actually pay for it is a much more bigger question that may not be answered by that. So, that is what we would like to find out through our customer discovery. So, basically when you have a confirmation bias which is wrong, it causes you to think and listen selectively and can distort your active pursuit of facts. So, just to reiterate, what we are trying to find out through our customer discovery is we have a set of initial value proposition guesses which can be in the form of gain creators or painkillers, and we are trying to basically turn these guesses into facts through getting the right feedback. So, we just do not want to say that all this initial guesses are correct. That is not the right way of doing the customer discovery. Okay. So, what are some of the key interview do's and don'ts? So, some of the good things to do as a part of the customer discovery interview is disarm the sales pitch mentality. So, we do not want to pitch about our product or service, and a lot of us are doing that. If you look at as an entrepreneur, many a times we are so attached to this product, we want to go out there and just start pitching about this is such a great product, this has this 10 features, what do you think about it? Disarm that. We want to just get a feedback on a nice idea or nice service or product idea which we are trying to build, right. Insight questions, we would like to learn the deep insights. So, whenever you use the term feedback or understanding, I am trying to understand what do you feel about this particular idea or particular thing about low cost or performance, then you get real insights. These customers would be very happy to tell you so many things which you may not know beforehand, right. It is nice to record those insights. Open ended questions, sometimes you would want to start with some questions like what do you think the general performance of the existing devices or things which you are using for this particular health problem, and they can give you such detailed answers which will help you understand your competitors, which will help you understand what exact features do you need in your particular product or services. So, sometimes have small questions to just spark a conversation, and then automatically the customers will tell you more than what you would expect, right. Ask follow up questions. So, sometimes just to showcase your interest and make sure you understand it properly, ask some follow up questions to have a better dialogue, right. Listen, then listen, and then listen more. So, listening is the key word. So, during the customer discovery phase, you would want to listen for 90% of your time and speak for less than 10% of your time, right. So, this is very, very important. Keep on trying to understand the idea of why, and why. So, we just want to understand the whys of all the value proposition guesses which we have. Parrot back and confirm, I have already explained that. Further introductions and thank the interviewee. You should always thank the interviewee for their valuable time and their feedback which they have given. This gives you an opportunity to connect with them again in the future rather than just having a one time conversation, and you can also possibly convert these particular folks to your end customers if you develop the products according to their feedback by factoring in majority of that. What are some of the bad things about the interviews questions? Selling your idea. Most of the entrepreneurs, including I have done it previously for my startup, and this is one of the really bad idea. You start to sell your idea and you start to overpower the customers, and very often than not they just don't want to give their right feedback. They will say, oh, this is a great product, and you never do your customer discovery right by selling your idea. Not a good idea, right? So talking about your solution and technology, so you don't want to talk about your solution or technology at length in the initial rounds of interviews. This can be done once you have incorporated their feedback in the first 4 or 6 weeks, then you can do that, but not initially. Third wrong thing to do is not listening. Many of us are very poor in listening. We want to just speak and speak. As a entrepreneur, we think we just have to talk and we don't want to listen. Listening is an art, and that is very, very important, which will give us the right feedback. Yes, no, or learning nothing kind of questions. So very simple yes, no kind of questions just to validate our hypothesis is not a great idea. We would like to know a little bit of insight into this particular question, which will typically come out from the right survey questions or right survey answers, set of answers, or through the interviews, right? False positive questions, biased questions. So many a times you would like to ask questions about, let's say you are working on this particular problem, which is a, let's say, mental health issue, and you would like to ask whether going for a nice group of people who can help with your mental health issues be valuable for you. So just think about this question for a second. Everybody would say yes, right? So this is so intuitive and biased. Rather, you would want to ask that what are the issues which you are facing, what are the current solutions do you think, what are your proposed solutions which you think somebody who is an entrepreneur should incorporate, which would be valuable for you. These are better ways to ask the questions. Interrupting. You do not want to interrupt the end customer who is spending their valuable time to give you a very positive and unbiased feedback, and many of this can be negative but would help us out. Missing out opportunities to dig deeper. So this is another very wrong thing. We don't want to stop the conversation just to get 10 customers on board and get their feedback. We do not want to limit our time by saying 5 or 6 minutes for all your questions, please answer quickly. That way we are dismissing the opportunity to dig deeper into all the insights. They can give us so much insights. They can tell us so much about our competitors, like what are they willing to pay. So basically your revenue model, cost structure, what are the key resources, everything would be clarified if you have a nice and heart to heart conversation with the customers, right? So let's dig deeper. So some of the key interview tips along with it is go for warm contacts, work much more better than cold calling. So cold calling is basically what you see as a common example with a lot of this credit card agencies, right? All of a sudden I am this person from so and so bank and I would like to give you a personal loan. This is cold calling. Majority of this calls, if I am very busy, I will just drop it. I will not even speak with them, right? Warm contact is where there is a person which is contact of your direct contact. So let's say these are some official colleagues you have not met yet, or there are some families of the colleagues who do not know you directly, but they know as a fact that you are going to call them for an interview or something like that, and you can introduce yourself as like, I am working on this research project, and if you can spare your really valuable time to give me a little bit of feedback on my idea. Most of the time, if you say you're working on a research project and you're trying to get some feedback, most of the people would like to give you feedback. Whenever you try to sell something, people don't like it. They get very kind of turned off like by that, and many of them can just drop the call. So you can have in-person interviews with warm contacts as well as calling. Typically ask someone to introduce you and mention who referred you. So it's sometimes a good idea to introduce yourself that I am so and so. As a student, students are much more preferred than professionals. This is another point to be noted. So I also sometimes, when I do a customer discovery for my program, I would put myself as a student, and all of us can be students. We are all learning, right? So I would introduce myself as a student and say so and so has referred me to you for great guidance and valuable feedback. If you can just spare a few minutes of your time to help me out with some questions, right? Get their attention with honesty and flattery. This is very, very important. Two terms, honesty and flattery goes a lot way. long way. If we are rude, or if we are not very if we are arrogant about our presentation, people would pick that and they would usually be turned off and not be willing to give you a lot of information. So we need to be honest, and we need to have a little bit of flattery where we kind of value their time and tell them that this is so great to hear, this is the first time I'm hearing this, and things like that. So something like, I am told that you are an expert in the field and I'm just looking to get your advice and insight. Think about just this sentence. If I call somebody who is not having a great day and they're probably not an expert, but they're given the idea of you are an expert in this field, I have been told, and I'm just looking to get your advice and insight. Majority of us would be very happy to spare our few minutes. So how we place our interviews is very important. That's why we are spending quite a bit of time into the interview tips, good and bad. Try to meet typically face to face or by e-meeting so that you can read the body language. Sometimes on a phone call it would be very difficult to understand the body language, and body language tells a lot about their general interest. So we have seen cases in interviews where somebody has shown so much of genuine interest that they almost want to take other people on board and get their feedback. So that happens very often. Don't sell, don't lead your idea, solution or technology. Don't ask questions like, what do you think if something of this sort, if I develop an app around mental health, would you be willing to use it? These kind of questions are just leading you to an idea. You would rather want to know that would you think an application or some kind of a platform would be helpful for solving a mental health issue where people can be connected? What do you think like about this? So that's a better way of putting it, right? Some other interview tips are: focus and listen to their needs and pain points. This will give you a very clear idea of the value proposition. You will get your painkillers around it, and you will also get the gain creators around it. It's all about them, not you, and you want new insights. So we'll have to think about, we do not want to market ourselves. So one of the best way I've noticed is there was somebody I was speaking to a long back who was a really serial entrepreneur. So many times what we do is, just because we have earned so many degrees, we have studied so much, we have so much experience with our products, we want to talk great about ourselves, that I am so and so from this and that, so that people think I am such a great person and give me a nice feedback. Typically that doesn't happen. There was this example from a person from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which is the MIT, considered as one of the top institutes, and how they pitched about their product. They never mentioned MIT, that's what we saw. They just mentioned there are some nice students and they're trying to get something for their research projects. Everybody was very happy to give them feedbacks. Once you say MIT, people may start thinking, oh, this person is probably very smart, I have to just talk about smart things. So you don't want to change that vision of honesty, how the particular customer is going to behave or give you feedback, right? So it's better to sell yourself very low and kind of just have a very genuine idea of like getting a feedback, right? So it's all about them, it's all about the customers, it's their show rather than our show. So get stories about how they do their jobs and what their challenges are. So around this particular idea, you want to know what do they do currently. Ask them to explain a typical day or process or their current solution to problems and what they specifically wish worked better. So this particular area of, let's say, glucose monitoring, and so this particular you're looking at certain diabetic folks, and you want to get a feedback on what do they typically do and what do they wish was a better idea, like if that was a solution. That will kind of lead you to a much more better solution, right? Take notes. Take pictures or videos, great for lessons learned presentations. So sometimes what I do personally, I record conversations because I may have missed a lot of those parts, of course with permission of the other person, but that is sometimes a nice tool to just look at some of the points which they may have mentioned I have missed out later to factor them in, right? So let's talk about a real life example. We had a lot of theory now to look at how a customer discovery set of questions and value propositions should be. So let's talk about a real life example. So this is a product which my particular company had. So I'll explain this in a way that it was my journey, so you can think of your startup entrepreneurial journey in the similar lines. So we have this new product which we wanted to call as Syn Skin, basically meaning synthetic skin. and I was basically at the team lead for this customer discovery program. We would like it to be typically same for your entrepreneurial journey. So if you are an entrepreneur, like for your particular company, you would want to have a team lead, you would want to have a technical lead, and at least somebody with a sales and marketing lead, right? So I was the team lead, Dr. Venu Unikrishnan was the technical lead, and there was another person, Minda, who was the sales and marketing lead, right? So the way we kind of initially pitched about this idea was, we have this secret recipe to fabricate customized human skin for orthotics and prosthetics, theater and movie makeup, ballistic testing, ballistic is bullet based testing, clinical training, and military applications. So what was this idea? We thought that we have this really nice synthetic skin. So synthetic skin is kind of an artificial human skin which we had prepared from our research, and we thought this is going to solve problems for a lot of different industries like orthotics, prosthetics, theater movie makeup, ballistics, clinical training, which is surgical training, and military applications, and also movie makeup. So this is going to be this great product which is going to solve so many things with a single stone, right? So these are some pictures where we wanted to pitch about it, that these are some previous prosthetics, and we think adding a layer of nice artificial skin would look very good and be very comfortable for people who are wearing for a lost limb. So it will be a nice touch to their existing skin, and they would feel very comfortable. So also orthotics mean basically some kind of insoles. Basically the insoles will be much more comfortable if it had a top material which was similar to the human skin. Similar to the upper limb prosthetics, another example is the figure in between, where we are looking at the movie makeup industry. This particular person, like, basically I think is looking for like a Star Wars or a Pirates of Caribbean kind of character, and they have a huge movie makeup. So the idea was, think about the level of discomfort this person is going through with so much of makeup on their face, right? So the idea here was, can we have a very comfortable artificial skin which can replace the existing products, and then that can be very comfortable to wear for a very longer time, right? So another example is biosafety and handling issues with cadavers, right? Cadaver is basically a dead body, like, which is used for research purpose, basically for medical training, to look at different surgical techniques and to understand practice different surgeries by surgeons, medical trainees and whatnot. So these are widely used in the hospitals and training institutes, but the problem with this is biosafety and handling issues. They have to be having a lot of different biosafety considerations, have to be freezed in the right way, have to be hydrated, there cannot be any cross contamination, and they have to be preserved with certain chemicals and whatnot. And there are so many other handling issues, like somebody may be a little not very little reluctant to basically perform surgeries on a real life cadaver, or like things like that. So we wanted to replace this cadaveric skin with this artificial skin again. We thought, like, if we provide this artificial skin, somebody can quickly do a surgical simulation and do the job, and then carry this artificial skin in their pocket, because no biosafety or handling issues, right? No ethical considerations needed. Another example is, we wanted to so for a lot of bullet or ballistic testing, like, the certification is done through a lot of DRDO labs, and basically what they would like to do is have a material which is very similar to skin, and where they can look at whether this particular bullet is going to damage the skin and to what extent. And there are another segments, like, which is known as a non-lethal ballistics, and they are basically known to deter a crowd. So basically it is kind of like a air gun kind of setting, where you basically hit somebody, it hurts them, but it doesn't penetrate their skin or have a fatal effect, right? They are known as non-lethal ballistics. So basically for their testing, and artificial skin or synthetic skin would be useful. So that was our initial set of hypothesis. Many of this, if you look at, we are trying to pitch our idea or think about our idea. What was the key value proposition which we wanted to look at? Was comfort and beneficial accessibility or similar mechanical properties. So we were pitching this like we can change all of these aspects or all of these industries using SynSkin, right. So, we conducted 15 interviews total, like for this particular thing, and before we did that, we also filed a US patent. So, this is a US patent which was from my group, and this basically covers the synthetic skin, right. So, I was part of the one of the US universities, and that is where the patent came out from, right. So, this covered the synthetic skin so that nobody can copy and basically simulate my recipe again. So, I am protected from that aspect, right. So, I started looking at the business model canvas where focusing on the value proposition, which I had just introduced a while back. So, the key value proposition which we thought was material based enhanced comfort, be it prosthetics, be it movie makeup, be it majority of the other aspects, not probably a ballistic testing where comfort is not useful, but majority of the initial target customers we focused here. Let us also look at the customer segments. Prosthetics and orthotics companies were the most responsive. So, initially we had a survey of we have this great synthetic skin, we want to pitch about it, and we want to know like whether you would be interested to take something like that. So, we got the majority of the responses from the prosthetics and orthotics, and this is also through market research. These are typically the segments of the company which have adopted different versions of synthetic skin or artificial materials which are of better comfort and whatnot, right. So, based on that initial market review and understanding, we started with this prosthetics and orthotics companies as our key target customers. So, this is the number one which has to be fixed when we do a customer discovery, and second is we wanted to keep this value proposition as material based enhanced comfort, right. So, these are the two aspects which we decided on and we moved on then. So, this first week or the week 2 of here basically when we had pinpointed this value proposition and target customers, and this is exactly how I would like you all the companies and entrepreneurs to do the same for your product and services. We came up with an hypothesis, an experiment, and we came out with some results based on our interviews and service, and we had an iterative step for the next week. What do we do for the next week? So, what was our hypothesis? And this is exactly based on our value proposition and target customers. So, our hypothesis is this: prosthetic and orthotic companies need a customized human skin like material, which is basically our material, for improving the comfort of all products. This is our generic kind of hypothesis which we think is our guess or assumption that this is going to run through in the market. What was the experiment? We interviewed technical leads and project managers for 15 prosthetic companies. So, this is what we did, right. What were the key results? So, we got a bunch of results and we basically categorized these responses as strong, neutral and weak. So, whichever, if we have a majority of strong responses, we can say that our guess is indeed a fact. If we have majority of neutral or weak responses, then probably our value proposition is not going in the right direction, right. So, that was the idea. So, based on the level of interest, we had categorized our responses like this. We had received a total of 3 strong responses out of 15, 10 neutral and 2 weak companies were identified. So, what do we get out of this? There was not a very strong response from what we assumed would be a very strong response, right. So, our iteration was the same set of steps will be followed next week with companies in the prosthetic segment. So, we thought initially it might be a bad luck for us that out of 15 we have not gotten a very good response. So, let us continue this doing this survey or interview with further set of companies, and let us try to get 40 or 50 responses in order to really understand do people really not want our product, or there is a scope for material comfort which is basically derived from this particular product which we are offering. So, let us look at some of these strong contacts. How did the feedback really look like? So, Artec Lab Inc. This is a prosthetic and silicone liner based companies. This is what they manufacture. So, typically the person of contact here was Diana, and she basically called me back and said that they use different softness of silicone which is the base material depending on the patient to either be more sensitive and provide support. she thought customized skin would be really a helpful addition. So she gave us a positive review. That's something of a customized, artificial skin which is similar to the person's skin would be valuable. Comprehensive prosthetics and orthotics, they are into the manufacturing of suspension sleeves, liners made up of silicone. So we spoke with the lab manager, and this is to be noted, whom are we speaking with? We are not speaking with the secretary or somebody who doesn't have the technical knowledge, but we spoke with the lab manager who takes into these kind of aspects and who may be a key stakeholder for converting or taking our synthetic skin in the future. So this is also a very important focus point. So what did they say? Their standard material and sleeves don't have uniform results with their patients. Some find it more irritating due to variations in the skin types. Very good point. He thinks customized skin would be really helpful. So if we can make synthetic or artificial skin which is similar to somebody's skin with the right properties, he thought this could decrease the irritation or dissatisfaction among a lot of customers. So this was another positive review. Alabama Center for Prosthetics and Orthotics Inc. This was another company we were interviewing. So this basically looks at prosthetic limbs and braces. So there was a person called Thomas Leonard who was the person of contact. He gave us his email address and wanted to help. So he said we can visit his friend Mark, who works at the clinic across lofts, is basically a housing society. He thinks customers skin could be very useful and wants to keep him posted. So he said, please keep working on your technology, showcase the technology to my friend Mark who works there hands on, and please keep me posted on how your technology is faring in, and I would be happy to pitch in and connect you with other possible customers. So he was very helpful. That's what we found out. So out of the neutral contacts, typically there were this bunch of companies whom we contacted, majorly in the segment of prosthetics, prosthetic liners, limb manufacturing. Majority of the people whom we got in touch with were secretary, not technical people, and they said like this or this person is the technical lead and we will arrange a call back, or please email us, we will get back to you. Majority of them never got back to us, or we could not reach them over phone. So they are kind of neutral contacts where, and few of them kind of spoke about it a little bit, but they were not very enthusiastic about our products. So this is good to know, like where we were just sitting in a office and assuming that we have this great product, patent protected, and many of us think like that as an entrepreneur, and we got a hit in our face, like basically where majority were neutral contacts and poor contacts, right? So with this I would like to thank you. This is all for the session. Hopefully you have learned something. We'll see you next time for the next class, right? Thank you.